Welcome to TrailManners, the podcast so dedicated to mountain trails and running that they broadcast out of a 78 Volkswagen bus in the mountains. Who does that? Eric and Joel are your hosts and will bring you the trail life as you may have not heard it before. You hear about everything from gear reviews, nutrition to keep you upright and moving forward, and they'll even bring guests into the bus for conversations that you won't hear anywhere else. It's time for some running adventures on a higher elevation. The old 78 Volkswagen bus is fired up and headed to the mountains. Here are your hosts for TrailManners, proudly representing the 801 with their passion and love for the trails, Eric Manning and Joel Hatch.
Welcome to the TrailManners podcast with a special Hardrock 100 edition. Today, we are wrapping things up with Hardrock finisher Jeff Hart. So if this is your first time listening, then thanks for coming. The TrailManners podcast is produced every week for your enjoyment, and show notes are found at trailmanners.com. Come back often, and please feel free to add the podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at TrailManners. All links are in the show notes. Now let's get after it. Okay, welcome to a special Hardrock edition of the TrailManners podcast. I'm Eric Manning, sitting next to Mr. Joel Hatch. Joel, how you doing?
Doing good.
Nice. So this is an early show for us. This is our earliest show, I'm going to say.
Think so?
Yeah, I think so. 7 a.m. I think that's our earliest show.
Yeah, it's not early for us, but it's an early show.
Early show. I was on my way over in the bus, and I was doing the old warm-up, the vocal cords. Me, 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 me. I'm like, I don't want to sound sleepy.
You do that, huh?
I did on the way
I was
over.
yelling at people at the gym at
Yeah,
6
you were
a.m.
working.
Yeah.
I wasn't. So, but man, so excited today. Such a privilege we have.
Anticipated guest.
Oh, can you believe this? We're in Studio 78.
Yes.
At our location, 22nd Street Trailhead,
I know.
and we
Our
have
home turf. I like it.
Hardrock finisher
Yeah.
Jeff Hart.
Wahoo.
Yeah, right? And listen,
Wahoo. That's all we got.
that's all the energy he's got left,
No.
right?
Yeah.
But yeah, this is so cool because we've had 3 shows with him already, kind of
Right.
following his
journey.
and they've all been over the phone.
Yeah.
And so the sound's different. Now, we've got him in Studio 78,
Right, which is always a bonus.
which is huge.
Yeah.
And he graciously, drove through, hey, I'm coming through Ogden.
Right.
I'm like, oh, this is money. We'll make it work.
Yeah.
If it's 5 a.m., I'll make it work.
Oh, yeah. No problem.
Just vocal cord warm up at like 4
Yeah.
is all I'd have to do. So thanks, Jeff, for stopping by.
thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I finally feel legit being actually in the studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a different experience, right?
It is.
Yeah.
You're not sitting on like
Nope.
the street in Silverton with like vagrants like Varner walking by, or
Vagrants. The vagrant Varner.
vagrant Varner. You heard it first here, folks. Sorry, James. But yeah, it's awesome to have you here. If he walks over, he gives me a big old paper bag, which is kind of in the parking lot early in the
Especially
morning.
this parking lot.
Yeah, I'm like, some IPA.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we can get those. Some Lucky IPA from Breckenridge Brewing Company.
All right.
Little horseshoe on it. And, of course, he brings his buckle.
Yeah.
He's like, check that out.
I'm glad that he did because there was some confusion we had. Remember? Do you get a buckle or not? For Hard
and I
Rock?
don't know why it was because we were talking about it. I'm like, yeah, I've been down there. I remember the ceremonies and stuff.
Right.
So, yeah, that was
so you get a medal and a buckle, right?
Well, not exactly. So you get a medal, and then you can buy a buckle.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. All
Why
right.
would you not buy a buckle?
Yeah.
I know, right?
I would
I
be.
mean, I guess maybe if you're one of those old timers and you've done it
500 times. Yeah.
and you've done it 23 times, maybe
Right.
not. But
I bet they still do.
I think I would.
Yeah, I know, right?
I would too.
Yeah.
Right? If it was maybe a different race, I'd probably pass. But at
Right.
Hardrock, I'm like,
Yeah.
can I get 2 of those? One of those.
It's like McDonald's. You're up there
Yeah.
ordering.
Yeah.
Well, they do. They've got like a little shop of stuff.
Yeah, really, really nice, and they were happy to take all of my money because I
Really?
bought a lot of swag.
You got to do it that way, though. I think.
Yeah.
Especially a race like you never know if you're going to get back.
No.
If
Right.
you want to, or if you can.
Right.
So you just go for it.
And for me, that's the pinnacle. I mean, that was the whole reason I got into hundreds was to run this race. So
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I wanted that swag.
Yeah.
So now what is it? I mean, this was your ultimate goal. Are you done?
Well,
you gonna
today-
hang your hat up and retire.
I think after today was his like final. This is like the cherry on top, being in Studio 78, right?
Yeah,
Good-
yeah.
Good point.
It'll definitely feel downhill from here, but
Nothing's going to compare, right?
no.
Sinead O'Connor.
No. and it's gonna be, I don't know. I think cheeseburgers,
Oh,
maybe. I don't know.
well, if you weren't doing that before, then you weren't doing it right,
Yeah.
right?
Actually, we were really feeling kind of like we were eating poorly because we were having hamburgers like every day.
Oh yeah.
You go into town, there's not a whole lot of options.
Right.
And traveling, and so we had burgers in a lot of different places. I feel a little bit like a connoisseur. Yeah.
Now you do now.
Oh, yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
you're dialed into
Yeah.
everything.
Especially
Yeah.
in the Silverton area, you can write that Yelp guide pretty solid, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff Hart's Guide to Silverton.
Yeah.
If you want a good burger.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, man, we don't even know where to begin. This is such a huge journey, right? So we've had some shows, obviously, in the past with you, but man, so much happened this weekend. So you were down there for a little while, and I'm not kidding you. We had this discussion before. We were getting blown up. My cell phone with texts, Facebook posts, Facebook messaging, Instagram, Twitter. I mean, you name
They're like,
it.
"Where's Hart?
Where's Hart?
Where's Hart?
Where's Jeff at? I'm not by my computer. Where's he at? Did he finish?" You know, it was just crazy to see all these people like.
They're invested in the story."
Yeah,
right?
they were, and I've got messages, and I've loved following Jeff, and I think you've even had some stuff
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
And you've
You
met
got some groupies.
Yeah,
I did. It was weird.
So yeah,
It was cool but weird.
Yeah.
tell-
Right? People, you're like, you're that TrailManners dude. You took a couple steps back, didn't you?
Yeah.
Right? You're sizing them up. You're like, okay, they're cool. Yeah, bring it in.
It was really fun. I mean, it was fun, but it was
It
a little bit disconcerting. And from my end, I didn't see, after doing those first few podcasts, I didn't see anybody saying, "Oh yeah, whoa, this is great."
Your social media feed didn't blow up yet.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not huge on the social media thing.
you are now.
Yeah, you are.
Well, so it was weird, and I meet somebody in the parking lot, and sounds like he's a longtime listener.
Matt. Yeah.
Matt.
Yeah, Ozanic. Yeah.
Ozanek, yeah.
He was like the
No, wait.
TrailManners on the ground down there for us.
Is he tall like you are?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he looks like a tall dude.
And he has, he's got a trucker hat on, and we meet in the parking lot, at race registration, so a couple days before the race or the day before the race, and snap a picture, and that's great. And it's out of my mind because I approached him. He had the shirt on,
Right.
and to kind of jump to the end, I'm sitting at I come into the finish chute. And here are these two people on the side, and they're just cheering away for me.
That's
and
awesome.
they're like, "Oh, we've loved following your progress." And I'm like, "Thanks." And because he had his hat backwards,
Oh,
I didn't recognize it.
Yeah.
right. You didn't.
I
They
mean,
can't-
it was
people
a
can't do that.
30-second meet.
Right.
And it took me, it was probably, 10 minutes after the finish. I had gone inside, and then I had to come back out and go, "Oh, thank you so much," because it was 10 minutes before I realized, oh, that's how I know him.
Right.
So it was weird. It was, and you're just like, oh, great, this is good.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it was fun.
That's awesome.
And he's like, yeah, I took a video. I'm gonna send it to Eric, and
Yeah,
it was fun.
We got it. We posted it.
Yeah.
It was awesome. And the funny part is he mentioned, and we're going to skip around because this is just a huge story thing. But you put on lipstick to
I
kiss the
did
rock.
see that. That was hilarious.
Has anybody ever done that? I mean, you were with their Dell.
I don't think anybody to that point had.
Yeah.
But you want to know what? I was not the only person that did it.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Yeah.
Someone that came in after you
Yeah.
was doing
Keith
it?
Kipling.
Yeah.
I don't. KN.
Yeah.
Nippling.
Yeah, I
Nippling.
think
It's
Nippling.
probably Nippling.
Yeah.
He's got a
Um,
different Facebook handle.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
It's weird.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I know his dad Gary, and I ran with his dad Gary at some races in Virginia, and just a great guy. So to have his son do it, but he kissed the rock on the goat, so you can't really see the lipstick.
Right.
So
he
I
did
kissed
after
on the
you,
white.
right?
Yeah, he
So
finished.
you're
after
first.
me. Well, yeah.
Right. You
whatever.
started the fad.
You
Going
started
with
it. Next year, it's going to be
You
like
need to start
different color
hashtagging that.
lipstick.
Yeah, I got the
Next year.
sense that Dale was like, okay, no more of this.
Yeah.
he,
Well,
he
I
kind
think
of alluded to that.
Dale was like, "This is pretty funny," and then that reaction of, "Oh crap! I hope nobody else
And
does
then-
this now."
Yeah, please don't
Yeah.
do this ever
Yeah,
again.
exactly. That's gonna be in the rules for next year.
Hey, watch it.
This
It's
is gonna be
the
the Hart rule.
Heart rule.
That would be awesome.
It's
I would
going to
love
be
it.
Chapter 7 number 3,
Yeah.
the heart rule.
Yeah, heart rule. Exactly.
Please leave all foreign product off your lips while kissing the rock.
Yeah.
Aw.
You'd be like, come on, Hart, you ruined it for everybody. There's like 3 people out there that have been planning this for 10 years that haven't gotten into hard rock.
Exactly.
Maybe, yeah. Well, and just to give a shout out.
Wait a minute. Did you carry that lipstick with you?
No. So it was my son's idea. So I have to give credit where credit is due. It was my 12-year-old boy, Xander, and he had this idea before the race and made me go to the store, and we bought the lipstick, and he paced in the mile or so into town.
And you got some aid on the way in to the rock.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So you didn't wear it the whole race.
So, yeah, thank you. Thank you, because I'm sure they're going to come and take my medal back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that maybe you should have carried that with you the whole way.
I appreciate that, Joel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we'll talk about what else you carried with you the whole way later on.
Okay.
Right?
Nice.
Yeah.
But I mean, so just real quick, I mean, we're going to skip around. You finished in 40 hours and 9 minutes.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a long time, buddy.
Oh my gosh.
So,
but yeah, it is a long time, but I was fully prepared for 48.
Right.
Yeah.
Fully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So first reaction though, I mean, lipstick aside, when you went down the chute, because that's where it starts really. I mean, you get into town, I get it,
Right.
but you turn the corner, you're coming down the chute. You're coming down the chute, you see the rock, you see the clock, you see Dale. I mean, what honestly was going through your mind at that point? I mean, you said this is the pinnacle, right?
Yeah. It's surreal, and there's a part you're running into town, and Dale and Charlie and all these people that have built this race, they're sadistic because they make you run up this hill before you drop down into town.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So you have time, and you don't want it to end. It's like I almost don't want to run. Like I'm feeling good enough to run. So we're walking down the road coming into town. I don't want it to end. That was the real thought is this is over. I mean, all those years, all the training, every run where you're thinking, I'm doing this 100-mile to get into that one, you know.
Right.
It was, I mean, I probably didn't say this to my pacer, but I'm tearing up. I'm like, tears are rolling down my face, and I'm there with, my partner, which I've gotten grief for saying, by the way. So I don't remember who told me that, but that'll change. But anyway, and I'm there with my son, and it's just like I just feel complete, and it feels so magic. And I get to the corner, and I'm making the turn, and then one of my running idols and running friends, a guy that I met at Penn State, John Fegaversi, and if I said your name wrong, John, I'm sorry. So there's a reason everybody calls him Feggy.
Yeah.
He's standing there waiting and cheers me on around the corner, and then I turn the corner, and here's the rock, and there's Dale, and it's just you're not even really there. It's just so surreal. You're just kind of out. It's an out of body.
It's like you're
experience.
floating that last little bit.
Yep.
You're hovering above everything kind of feeling.
Yeah. And I see the video that, was it Matt?
Yeah.
Took, and I'm like, I don't remember that. That doesn't look really. I don't remember. It's just surreal.
What's awesome, because even as you're saying this story, it's like you're getting emotional just your
totally.
face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean that says something though. I mean, because there's so many, because people ask so many questions all the time. Why do you do this? Why do you run? Why? But I mean, watching your face do this, I mean, that's why.
Right.
You can't put a word to what you were just saying, and it brings up an interesting point. Is a friend of ours, and yours, Scott Jaime, was his 10th and his last, and he's just ingrained in hard rock. I mean, he's like one of the cornerstones almost of hard rock down there.
Yeah.
And he walked the finish, right? And I think, watching him walk and knowing Scott, he was just taking it in. Like he didn't want to cross the finish line.
Yep.
Right.
Because it's not about time, because you could run down the road and increase your time by seconds or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
But you could just see the same thing. It's just like, I'm gonna soak every ounce I can out of this sucker because I know what comes next.
Yeah, it's
or
true.
Don't know.
So, we're coming down the mountain. We're crossing the river, and I get past at the river by Katie Grossman, who I ran with quite a bit, and she's working to beat that 40 hour, and there's a part of me that's like, oh, I can pick it up and run in with her, or run in before the 40 hours. I mean, I wasn't going to catch her.
She was going.
I mean, she put, like, in the last 2 miles, she put 15 minutes into me or something.
Right.
I don't know, something crazy. But part of that is that wanting to be, wanting to experience. I didn't want it to end.
Right.
It's like I had a little gap. I'm like, no, there is that competitive drive in me, and I'm running, you know, probably doing like a 9-minute mile, and then I'm like, oh, this doesn't feel good. I don't want to finish gutted.
Yeah, I don't want to remember this.
Remember it, yeah. So slowed down, mostly walked in.
Right.
Yeah, had a great time.
That's awesome.
So did the reality meet the expectations?
It far exceeded the expectations. If you have any aspirations to do this race, your thoughts of how great and fantastic and wonderful the people, the place, and the race itself are so under what it really is.
Okay.
It's just amazing. In every way, it's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of races, and I've gone a lot of places, and I love the culture and the atmosphere and all of them, but none of them rival this one. It's a family, and it is a culture, and it's inviting, and everything about it is just phenomenal.
So do you think that you feel that way because you spent extra time out there helping mark the course, so you got to really experience the whole culture of it, as opposed to somebody just kind of like flying in Thursday, doing the race, and then bolting?
100%.
Yeah.
Without a question. I wouldn't have met some of those old timers who've done it 2, 3, 4, 10, 15 times.
Right.
I wouldn't have met the race director at the parade. I wouldn't have met Charlie Thorne and all of the markings. And all of those things really led to having a full experience, really feeling like I knew the race, knew the people, knew the mountains, knew the course. Yeah, without a doubt. If you're going to do it, that's the way to do it, is to go out, 10 days early, 2 weeks early, and do as many of the course marking days.
So speaking of the course marking, was that your first time on the course then?
Yeah.
Did that scare the bejesus out of you at that point, or were you like, game on?
Oh, I was scared to death.
Yeah?
Yeah. The first day we got into town, I went and did part of the course. And it's basically, I went backwards from the Cunningham aid station up to Little Giant, which is the first major climb, but I went up the downhill.
Right.
And just got thoroughly spanked. It was it was so painful and so steep. And you come up a rise and you think, oh, I'm there, and then you see that you're only in a basin and there's more, and it just keeps doing that. The whole race does that too.
Right.
And then you go out on the course and you're marking, and it's the same thing.
Right.
You see the map, you have this picture of what the map should be, and you're doing from, Cunningham to Maggie, so mile 9 something to mile 15, and you think, oh, 6 miles, it's no problem. And you just climb forever.
Right.
Forever. And then you get to the top and you realize, oh, you go down into that valley and then you go up that next ridge too.
Right.
Oh, I'm in big trouble.
So basically you have 6 miles of uphill, but it takes you like 9 miles to get there.
Yeah.
It feels like you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. We got done. I was like, that was a 6 mile section. I'm genuinely. I mean, it's just, and it's like, it's like that through the whole course.
Right. Just
it never relents.
Right.
Distance is different in Silverton area, right?
Totally different.
So at that point,
Totally.
so
It's like
at
its
that
own
point,
metric
did
system.
you have that moment where you're like, oh crap, I didn't train enough? But at that point, were you just like, or were you just like, all right, I'm here, I'm committed, I'm just gonna take what it comes, right?
So, since I have someone here who's going to keep me honest,
Right.
I was ready to bail after doing that first climb on my own. I I checked to see if my condo, if I could get the money back from the condo.
Really?
Oh yeah,
You were that scared?
I was scared.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I almost
It's all right.
almost swore. But
That's
anyway,
all right.
That's
I'll try and
okay.
keep it family friendly
because
because
once in a while.
I know my mom is going to be listening now.
Mama Hart.
But yeah, I did, and they're like, oh, this was on the 28th maybe of June.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, our deadline was the 26th.
Oh, committed.
So so I did. I said, okay, all right. I don't feel like I trained enough. I'm gonna get my ass handed to me here, but I'm
Right.
in. I'm all in, and it was a switching point, and it really just
Yeah.
it was the first almost fail that I had, and the next one came at mile 42 in the race.
Oh,
So,
So what happened there?
yeah. So, I was running great.
Right.
Felt good.
So what's the train like around mile 42?
So that's coming into Grouse Aid Station,
Okay.
Grouse Gulch Aid Station. You've just climbed up and over Handies,
Right, which is kind of
which
steep
is
and high.
yeah,
That's a
steep.
butt
It's the
kicker.
highest point on the race.
Right.
It's 14,000, and to that point, I had run great. But in one of our first podcasts, I talked about how at Wasatch last year I got some corneal edema.
Okay.
So swelling in the eyes that
Yeah.
made my eyes fog over,
Okay.
and going up Handies, that fogginess came back into my eyes,
Oh.
and I couldn't see very well. So I kept tripping and staggering over everything, which
Right.
made it that much harder, and you get discouraged. And so I kept tweaking my ankles. I'd go to step and the ground wouldn't be there, and so you jack your back
Right, and hips and all
and
that
the
kind of
hips,
stuff.
everything. And coming down from Handies, you go into American Basin and then up over Grouse and then down into this Grouse Gulch.
Mm-hmm.
And I hurt everywhere. Everything was painful,
Right.
and I couldn't see. And it got worse the higher I went.
Right.
It got okay. It got to the point where I could see okay, and I got into the aid station. But I got to the aid station, I thought I can't go on,
Right.
because at Wasatch it got so bad, I literally ran past the finish line. I didn't.
Oh,
see
so it didn't get any better when you went down
At
low.
Wasatch, it didn't get better. It got worse, and it stayed bad. And I literally ran down the road past the finish line.
Right. You didn't take that left into the finish chute.
No, I didn't. And it wasn't until I could tell the cheers were behind me that I realized. So I went 100 yards past or so, and then
Everybody's
I'm
like, what's going on with this guy?
well, I come in and they said, "Oh, we just thought you were a pacer."
Ah. No.
We just thought you were out for a run.
You're looking at your watch going, 99.9, I need to get that extra.
No kidding.
Running
Yeah.
around the parking lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah, he's running the parking lot.
Yeah.
Needed to make sure. So there was this huge amount of panic and huge amount of pain, and that's I felt great until then, and then I came in and everything hurt, and my eyes were bad, and I thought, it's mile 42. I can't do
Right.
I can't do 58 more miles of this.
Right.
That's ridiculous. I
On
mean,
that
that's just
course.
ridiculous, and it's dangerous
Good point.
because it's so extreme. So I sat there. Well, yeah. I mean, blubbering. Yeah. I mean, I was
Right.
full on, just like
Beside yourself.
life goal
Right.
is going down.
It's fleeting, right?
It's going down the drain
Yeah.
as we speak, and it's not because I didn't train. It's not because it's like completely out of my control. So I spent about an hour in the aid station. They moved me into the medical tent where it was a little bit warmer and
Right.
and I could recline. And it's also the place where I was going to pick up my pacer, Jeff Calvert, and we've talked about him before. And I'm ready to pull the plug because I'm thinking about the next section that goes up over Engineer Pass and drops down into Bear Creek. And Bear Creek Trail is one of the spectacular or iconic points on the race because it was built by miners and it's literally carved out of the side of the cliff with 200 to 400 foot drops off the side, and it's
Right.
5 feet wide or narrower at points. And it's a sheer drop off. And I'm
Right.
thinking, all it would take is one trip and slip and
Yeah.
you're toast. And
Right.
I mean, I love running. I don't want to die.
No.
But so I'm, and to their credit again, the medical crew, they're good. They're like, well, seems like you're doing what you need to do. You make your own decision. And I can't decide to quit on my own. I want him to tell me.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea. You don't keep. Okay, you got me.
Yeah.
You're the pro.
I think at that point, if they're not pulling you from the course, then they feel comfortable that you can keep going.
I mean, clearly they did because they didn't pull me.
Yeah.
And it was at that point that my pacer, Jeff Calvert, he basically says, listen, if you don't at least try, you're going to regret it for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn it. All right.
Who brought you?
That movie quote, who pulled that out?
So after an hour, which, by the way, felt like 10.
Did it?
Oh, felt.
Were you able to do the rest, like kind of like sleep almost?
I felt no,
Massages?
I couldn't sleep. I
Pedicures?
ate and drank and
Right.
felt good. But all those aches and pains, like my knees just felt, I just didn't think I could even go on. I mean, everything hurt from having staggered so much. And I thought, oh, even that, how can you do that pain for, I mean, at that point, let's see, it was 12 hours in. I think I came in about 12 hours to grouse.
Right.
Wow.
How can you do that for another 38 hours or 36 hours?
Right.
It was insane. Anyway, but I got up and started moving and felt great. Felt fine. And my vision, I took my contacts out and had flushed my eyes with some saline.
Right.
And if you can't tell, I'm rolling,
rolling
my
his
eyes.
eyes.
Yeah.
Saline. Some creek water.
Yeah.
Mineral.
And we
mineral
started,
water.
when we started the climb up, and Jeff and my partner Jen had talked about topics to get me out of my head, and which I didn't know at the time. I know now.
Right.
So
They
good
had a
job,
plan.
Jeff, because you did a great job. He got me regaling him with stories, and we speculated while we were hiking up, or maybe it was in the aid station, that at Wasatch I had a time goal. I wanted to be as fast as I possibly could, and I worked very hard the whole race. And so intensity and elevation we thought might both be factors, because coming down from Handies it got better, and after calming down and relaxing it got better. And so I kind of kept my intensity level a lot lower, a lot less running,
Right.
a lot less hard effort, just consistent. So from that point on I was just consistent through the rest of the race.
Right.
And my eyes, they would fluctuate. I'd get a little foggy. I'd get a little bit when we go higher, and then it'd get better as I went down. But by the second day, by the time we, actually, I don't remember if I had it at Virginia's at Kroger's Canteen, which is coming up out of Ouray.
Right.
So it might have been done by that first night, because that was right at daybreak that we hit that point. And so it went away, and so that was the second almost didn't make it.
Wow.
So would you consider that the low part of the race for you? Was that like the lowest you got, or was there even like a deeper hole?
No, that was the only hole, and so it was. I felt great up to that point, up till the last 1,000 feet of climbing Handies, and I felt fine after that. As far as low points, yeah, I didn't have any mental struggles like I'm not going to make it. It's just okay. I'm going.
It's going to keep
I'm
grinding.
going to just keep going. Yeah, I'm just going to keep going.
Did you get to a point where it was kind of like that old thing in the hundreds, is aid station to aid station? Like instead of looking at it like I got 50 more miles, like, okay, 6 to the next one, 5 to the next one. Is that kind of how you process
Broke
stuff
it up.
like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely think that way. I don't think about the end. We're walking up that, and I'm like, I can't. We're walking up that first climb, picking up a pacer, and I'm like, I can't see the end. I can't see the end.
Right.
And I don't think it was. I don't think it was until I got to the top of Grant Swamp Pass, which is the last major climb, and the worst climb in the world. I think it's just awful.
Why is it awful?
Oh my gosh, it's just this nasty scree slope.
Oh.
And it just seems interminable. It just seems like it never ends.
Yeah.
And it comes at mile 80 or something, about mile 80, maybe a little 82 or something like that. And so you're just super tired,
Right.
and it's this soft scree that gives way, and so you can't take big steps, and you can't
Get a
you can't
rhythm
really
or-
power or get a rhythm. Yeah, it's just kind of, and it's really steep, really
Right.
steep. So
And you've already done 80 miles.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
On a fairly difficult course.
yeah.
So throughout the day when you're on this, you're flip flopping. Do you have like your group of people that you kind of see a lot, or because of the difficulty of the race, you see a lot more people because people are spending more time in aid stations, or do you have a group that you are playing around with out there?
I flip flop back and forth with Katie Grossman almost the whole race.
Yeah.
Right.
So that would be the big one, and then, but yeah, all the time you're seeing different people. And the weird thing was, after spending an hour at Grouse, I thought, everybody I think I might have been with is now so far in front of me.
Right.
And then late in the race, someone will come by you, and you're like, whoa, how did I wait?
Right.
What are you doing here?
from?
Yeah.
And in fact, James Varner, who put like 5 hours into me from Kroger's Canteen. I just left Kroger's Canteen, and he comes blowing by. I think he was singing. I mean, he was.
That sounds about right.
He was
see that.
happy, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm having the race of my life." And I'm like, "Yeah, all right. I hate you.
Yeah,
but
keep going. Move
yeah.
along.
move along."
Well, yeah, because
Right.
he posted throughout the course of race day, and he was smiling and everything.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
saw him. Like, he
Yeah.
literally looked like he was just out having a good time, but he
Right.
did have a really good day.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
But was that kind
But
of...
I had no idea who was behind me at that point. I would have thought he was
You
done
passed
already.
way
some
ahead
aid
of you.
station or something like that.
Yeah. So yeah, just as an aside, this race is definitely one where slower at the beginning leads to faster times.
Yeah.
There's just no question about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why that was an aside, because
That's
I don't
okay.
remember where we were
I think
going
that's a
before
good.
That's all right. You're still in
good
your Hard Rock
tidbit.
hangover.
That's
so
right.
whatever comes out of your mouth,
Euphoria.
we'll figure it
Yeah.
out. Right?
Yeah,
We'll go
good.
from
We'll
there.
interpret it.
Yeah.
Good.
We're unscripted.
Yeah, that's right. So let's go back. Another question I had for you was, since you marked the course, did you feel more comfortable those sections that you marked? Like you knew those sections better?
Yeah, it was really nice to not have to worry about what's coming up,
Right.
or to know, okay, this is where it's going, and more so for knowing where the course is going, because some of the it's not a heavily marked course.
Right.
Would be a nice way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
A more appropriate way to put it is that, Charlie feels like, this is a graduate level race. You should be able to follow the markings, and you really have to watch.
Right.
So the sections I had marked, I really could focus my mental effort on maintaining pace.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to look around. When I got to the top of Handies, that's a little different. I was in my pain cave then, but other sections, it's like I don't feel like I have to really kind of stop and look around to
Right.
make sure I appreciate it. I appreciated
done
it
it
before the
before.
race.
Yeah.
I took the pictures before. I barely took my camera out at all.
Right.
But just the confidence of knowing exactly where it went
Mm-hmm.
mentally is so.
Knowing what's coming up as
Yeah.
opposed to looking at a elevation chart online. Going,
Right.
well, I think there's a climb coming.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that plays in. The biggest section I hadn't done was from Maggie's, which is about mile 15, to Sherman, which is mile 30 or maybe 28 or something like that. So about a 14-mile section in the beginning. And we actually, I was with a group of people. In fact, I was with Katie Grossman at that point. And so we're trying to find, we're on the Colorado Trail, and then you break off and you go off, and we know the break off, we follow the break off, and then we lose the markers for a minute in this kind of like scrub.
Mm-hmm.
So we're spreading out and trying to find them. It's just, so to have 70 miles of the course not having to worry about that
Right.
mentally was huge. Yeah.
So that goes back to what you were saying earlier. You got to show up the week before, right?
Totally. Yeah.
Embrace the event.
Well, and I think the other thing for your situation too, the other ways that helps, acclimation because you're down there earlier.
Yeah.
You're
a sea level guy now.
We talked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And we talked about it in your other episodes. Your training kind of came on late because of dealing with injury and things like that. So, I mean, realistically, that last was like a really quality section of training as much as it was anything else for your legs, for your lungs, for your blood, and then the course marking. Because I had one of our listeners text me after I think it was the second show we had you on, and you said something like, yeah, I feel pretty good. I got a 15-mile run in. And they text me that. They said, I feel pretty good. I get a 15-mile run in. I'm like, huh? And they're like, I just listened to Jeff. They're like, I can't believe, because they've run hundreds. And like, he said he's got 15 miles in and he's ready for a hard rock.
Right.
I'm sure there were a lot of people going, this guy's on crack. He's never going to
Yeah,
finish.
exactly.
And that's fine because, everybody knows their own body.
Yeah.
And I knew, and I said it in that podcast. I said, if everything comes around, if I can get there healthy, I can train better. I'll train right up to the race, and I did. I just it wasn't. There was no taper.
Oh, we're doing that.
We're experimenting with that a little bit right now.
We're tapering up to races now.
I'm a pro at it now. Yeah,
exactly.
And to be honest, my best performances come when I don't try and do a full you read the things, do a full 3-week taper before 100.
Yeah.
I don't do well with that.
Yeah.
I mean, mentally and physically, my body just doesn't do well. I have to maintain some level. And while 15 might have been a big run, actually, my longest run for this race was a 24-miler.
Wow.
Which is insane.
Yeah, that kind of is a little bit.
But that 24-miler was in a 70-mile week. So, I'm backing it up with, 10 or 15-mile runs almost every day.
Right.
For 3 or 4 days out of that week. So it's a little bit misleading in that, I was still very, very
putting
consistent.
in the miles.
Yeah. And for me, that builds up,
Well, I think, just, looking at what you were posting and leading up to the race, I was looking at it going, man, he's putting it in, right? You're making these climbs. It's back-to-back days or whatever it is. But then you look at the big picture, and like you said, it's not necessarily big chunks of mileage. You're climbing, but you're still a little ways out from the race. So I think, that's got to be pretty beneficial for people to go down early if they can. That's still not everybody can do.
Exactly.
But I think
like
if you can, that would be. It seems like it'd be ideal, right? Just to be a part of all that, even if you've done the race before, just to be down there.
I think that's why a lot of people go back, is to go and do Camp Hardrock and hang out and have that experience.
Yeah.
Well, that's where I met a lot of the veterans. It's where I met, who did we mention on the last one? Billy Simpson. It's where I met James Varner. It's Howie Stern. It's during those course marking. It's during the weeks leading up to the race. And, if you go, be like me in that I listen. I'm like a sponge. I never go into those kind of situations feeling like, oh, I'm the one that has stuff to share. I just sit there and I pick their brain.
Right.
Well, don't you think that adds to your overall experience, though? Like when you look back at Hardrock and not just the race or some key events that took place on the course, but you look at the big picture, the trail markings, Matt coming up, you guys talking in a parking lot, all these little things kind of make that whole book, if you will, work, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Did you do the parade?
Yeah. It was great. It was so much fun.
It's pretty low key, right?
Like
the whole town shows up?
The whole town shows up.
Right.
All the ATVers, everybody. It's kind of a madhouse. And I guess it's had a reputation in the past as being kind of ruckus.
Oh, I like
not
it.
necessarily a family-oriented. And they tried to get away from that this year and get more.
Like they got the topless section.
And if you listen to the stories, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
Huh. The topless dudes, right?
Well, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
Not
Anyway, but yeah, so there's Jeeps, there's the fire trucks
Right.
spray the crowd down, and
Oh.
and here's
not
Shooting a kid across the
yeah,
street.
exactly. Not
Oh,
the
no.
mister. Yeah.
but very much
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, yeah.
Smart ass kid.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we carry a banner, and there's 20 or 30 hard rockers and
Right.
hard rock associated people, and just kind of do fun little formations and march. It was really
you guys
fun.
practice beforehand?
Wait, there was no practicing. No,
Yeah, no.
no.
So when they call out the L formation, you're like,
Oh no, everybody was. It was
the
very
hell?
precision.
was it?
Oh, don't get me wrong. If we were doing switchbacks, that was one of the things.
Oh, so you just kind of zigzag.
Zigzag back and
Okay.
forth across
Nice.
the
All
road.
right. All right.
Gotcha.
And some loops, and
Lollipops.
there was like the burrito, where one person holding the end of the banner rolls up, and the banner.
Wow.
rolls.
All right, this seems
Oh.
pretty high tech stuff.
We were doing
know.
high kicks.
Oh, you gotta be careful of those. The
yeah.
the hammies.
Yeah.
3 or 4 people
We were doing
going in with braces.
I don't know, little short sprints, fartleks maybe. I don't know what you would call them.
Awesome.
How long is this parade?
I know, right?
Because Main Street's not very long.
Well, they go down and back.
goes
They do
down.
an out and back.
Now
It's a lollipop actually.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
See?
Did they mark it? So you
Yeah,
know where
yeah.
It was marked, yeah. I got lost once.
He got off course.
I got off course.
took a wrong turn to get a hamburger.
That's right.
Yeah. No, ituld be hard to get off course because there were lots and lots of people.
Well
It
marked.
was really fun.
Right.
Yeah.
But see, so like I mentioned before, again, I would never say it, but I've been down there during the race. But that town literally rolls out the red carpet for the Hard Rock race. I mean,
Yeah.
it's such a huge. I mean, they make money. Obviously, it's a big time of year that those local businesses, whether
Right.
it's a restaurant, a hotel, anything. I mean, that's where they make money for the year. But it's also that it's totally embraced. I mean, I remember seeing posters in every window about the Hard Rock. You
Yeah.
walk into a place, and I mean, I felt horrible. Excited, I asked, "Oh, you're here? You running Hard Rock?" I'm like, "No,
No. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wasn't."
People
but they
people
love
will
it.
ask. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like this cool thing that it's part of their year. It's like
Right.
one of the pinnacles of their year down there.
Yeah. And it really kind of extends. I mean, the environment in Silverton is better for me than Ouray or Telluride, which are a lot more resorty, a lot
Yeah.
more established. But even in those towns and in all of the trails and the mountains everywhere, if you're out training, if you're out hiking, running in the mountains, someone's going to ask you, "Oh, are you running?" And I had half dozen, maybe a dozen people in those days that would say, "Oh, well, what's your name? I'll follow you."
Or they would say,
That's
"Oh, wait,
awesome.
you're Jeff Hart."
Right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, actually, the people that I think probably would say that when they saw me, they turned around. I don't understand what happened. They just started running the other
Yeah,
way.
right.
It was weird.
Well, you get associated with this crew in the
That's
bus.
right.
That's what it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So overall with the race, I mean, kind of, we've been jumping around a little bit, but how it unfolded, do you look back at all and say, "Oh, I could have done this"? Like a lot of races you do, I could have done this here, could have done that there. Or
Done
you
something
kind of like,
different.
that was all I expected. Other than that low point, I wouldn't have changed a thing.
If I hadn't had that eye issue, I feel like I would have kept working harder, and time would have been more critical to me. I feel like I could go 5 hours faster. I feel like I could be a 35-hour finisher.
Wow.
But looking at that,
But-
from what you said earlier, do you think that could be detrimental? Because as you said before, it's like I reserved my energy. I kind of started slow.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you might have got caught up and maybe wanted to go faster than you quote should have?
Yeah,
So
certainly.
it could have flipped too, though.
And while my training was adequate to get me through, my training probably would not have maintained that pace. So it could have ended disastrously.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's kind of like that idea of, if it's your first 100, don't have a time goal. Have a finish goal.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's really what Hardrock was. And I had to keep reminding myself, and even, I mean, we're all competitive. We're in this. We want to do as good as we can. So every person that passes, mentally I had to kind of go, it's okay. That's not your
Let 'em
race.
go.
This is
Right.
my race,
Yeah.
and this is my day. And like the pictures you saw of James Varner, the pictures that I have and the pictures that were taken of me, I'm smiling everywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
So as miserable as I might have been at any given point, no, I took everything in, and wouldn't change a thing other than, you know, the vision. If I didn't have the vision thing, I wouldn't have had that self-doubt.
Right.
But no, it was great. I mean, I didn't rush through any moment, but I didn't, you know, waste any moment either.
Well, I mean,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, because you bring it up just there, and we had Anna Frost sitting in that same seat, by the way.
Right.
And at one point when we had her on the show, she said people need to summit their own mountain.
Right.
You know, and so like when you're in a race, like you just said, and you see someone go by, you know, it's like, that's not me. This is why I'm here for whatever reason. And, you know, those people that passed you, you don't know what their day ended up like either most of the time. You know, and some, it's a smaller race. And I'll tell you what, it was a really, in my book, small DNF rate for this one. I mean,
I think they had the highest finish rate of any rate any year.
I was looking at the numbers, and
well, it started off rather ominous because the weather did not.
Oh my gosh!
Did not cooperate at first.
So
right.
You reminded me that I actually had 3 moments of doubt.
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
We're deep in. We're like psychiatrists.
Because the weather during the course marking was phenomenal.
Right.
Beautiful sun, not a cloud the whole time.
Just
beautiful weather. It was gorgeous, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be awesome.
Right.
And then, like, July 5th, it changed.
The monsoon came in.
The monsoon came in, and it was like, get out of the mountains by the afternoon or you're hosed.
Right.
And then it became
you're just hosed.
Mixed, as you just didn't know.
Right.
Morning, afternoon, whenever.
Right.
And earlier, I don't know, maybe Monday before the race, we're sitting in the condo, and this just torrential rain poured all night, and I couldn't sleep a wink. I'm like just sitting there
just
thinking,
stressing.
Could I sit in this rain for 24 hours and then go for 24 more hours after that?
Right.
I don't know. So, you know, the weather all of a sudden made it like, wow, this is not just
another
sound
factor.
fun.
Right.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun. But again, it's like by that point I had said, no, I'm just going to go and see what happens. And for the most part, we got lucky. For the most part.
Yeah.
Right.
There was a very...
It wouldn't make it Hardrock without these things, though.
That's true.
Yeah. There was a very intense hailstorm.
Right.
That some of the veterans I heard said, well, that's the worst weather I've had here.
Holy cow.
And again, you know, Katie, you're getting lots of shout outs. I don't know.
Yeah.
Either one way or
you
the
just
other.
happened to be running next to me, but she and I and another gentleman were just coming out of Pole Creek. So we're at about mile 20, 22, 23 maybe. And you come up to these 2 lakes, and the trail splits between the 2 lakes, and we're coming up to the saddle to these lakes, and we could see the clouds on the other side of this mountain ridge, and there's thunder and lightning going off, but it looks, I mean, it's fine where we are.
Yeah.
No
Right.
problems. And then we have this little fiasco where we're trying to find the markings. We find the markings. We're back on course, and like a second later, I'm looking down, and everything brightens up with a flash of lightning. And so you immediately start counting in your head, and you go 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, and then it's there, and it's like, oh,
That's close.
there was no warning. It's like, it's here.
It's here. It
Yeah.
just
It's
showed
here.
up.
And then you get 2 or 3 big fat drops of rain, and so you start pulling out your coat because you can tell this is not a little fleeting thing. It's not going to go away. So I start getting my coat out, and by the time I have my coat on, it is pelting hail that is coming down with such ferocity that it's painfully.
Wow.
And the guy that's with us kind of he falls behind and starts hunkering down. In my mind, I'm thinking, no, that's the last thing I want to do. I want to get down. I want to be off this mountain. I want to be down in the
through
trees.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Katie and I start motoring. We're just motoring through it, and it is just absolutely painful. I take this stance of hunching over
so that my backpack is taking most of it. I've got a hat on and then my hood on over that. So my head's not getting hit very hard. But the fronts of my legs are welted, and they're getting welted and turning bright red. And it's coming down so fast that it was only about 30 minutes long, I think. There's 4 inches of hail on the ground.
Oh, my goodness.
And everything is white. It looks like winter everywhere.
Right.
And because there's so much water now, everything's flooding, and you're running through this meadow between these lakes.
It's just like one lake.
and it's you're basically running in 8 inches of slushy water
That's cold.
with hail that's
Right.
not melting in it.
Yeah.
Because the water's as cold as the hail.
It's like an ice bath.
It really was. So in a way, it really did. It really felt refreshing
Yeah.
once it was over.
Yeah.
Once it was over.
Not when you're through it.
But
Yeah.
in the meantime, you're running through, and then you turn and you're into the wind, and so if it's hitting your thighs, it's hitting other places that may be just north of there.
Yeah.
Right.
And
we call it the nether region.
Yeah.
a lot
Nether,
here.
yeah. And it was so insanely painful.
Well, yeah.
I took one of my water bottles and
Shoved it down your shorts.
down
That's
my
a good
shorts.
idea.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Makeshift cup.
that was golden. I mean, it was just so helpful. I'm like, I think I might actually make it through this now.
You're like, I'm going to run the rest of the way like this.
And I think I've got a new product idea.
That's right.
Hey, you're running in the winter, want to keep your stuff warm?
That's right.
Take your handheld. It's called the Goody Held.
Goody hell.
We'll come up with it. We'll come
Okay.
up with
We'll
it.
work
From a
on it,
handheld.
yeah.
We'll work
Yeah,
on it.
yeah,
We'll
work on
contact
it.
some companies.
So, your feet are not, you're walking on ice blocks,
Right.
or running on ice blocks,
Yeah.
and, hands behind my back to keep my hands from getting welted. It was
Yeah.
it was really miserable. It was hard to see and loud,
Mhm.
but at the same time, you've got thunder and lightning just cracking all around you.
Right.
So it's like, oh my gosh, this is full value.
Standing in water.
Full value.
It's full value.
Yeah.
You got
Yeah.
your money's worth
Yeah.
just in the first 20 miles.
Yeah.
This will be
No.
awesome.
Yeah, I'm done.
What else could happen?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So there's a mantra that I have used for a couple of years that I've shortened, but it's basically, I am the storm, which is, the storm may be raging. The idea is, whatever is happening, all the bad things that are happening, I'm the storm.
Yeah.
I'm the thing that's dangerous.
Right.
And I realized then I'm not the storm.
Yeah, exactly.
It's okay.
It's
Yeah.
cool. You're
And-
like, sorry about
You're like,
about
you
that.
can have that back.
yeah, weather gods, I get it.
Yeah.
My bad.
This is hard rock.
Yeah.
No one ever said it was easy. It's good. You've proven your point. You're
Yeah.
in control.
Move
Right.
along.
And
I
in
won't
fact,
say this ever again.
I yelled that out loud. You're in control.
Yeah.
I get it. It's okay.
Got your
I
point.
acknowledge it. And then the river crossings, the river, there's 4 pretty solid river crossings when it's not high. And you hit those and I was glad to have somebody there so that we could kind of
Keep an eye
give
on
a hand across each other stepping down into them.
it. Right.
There's one section where a beaver pond has been built higher, and so I was glad I went to the course marking with Charlie Thorne, because this is the part I hadn't done, and he had said, hey, when you get to this big deep beaver pond, go upstream
Mm-hmm.
and cross at this little waterfall, because the beaver pond is, it's probably up to your thighs or your waist.
Right.
Well, when I got to Sherman, one of the guys sitting there who was in front said I had to go through water up to my chest.
Oh, jeez.
So that beaver pond was flooding over.
Right.
It's like, oh man, that would have been bad.
I
Yeah.
was swimming across the
Yeah,
river.
pretty much.
Yeah. And we could see somebody coming out the other side, so that's probably who who said
Right.
that he'd done that. So it was a half an hour hailstorm that took another half an hour for your feet to warm up,
Right.
and was all good, just down to rain by the time I hit Sherman, which is about mile 30 roughly.
Right.
And one of the best things I did in the whole race was putting dry socks and dry shoes in my drop bag at Sherman.
Yeah.
Okay.
because you have a long road, and even though it was raining, your feet aren't wet.
Right.
So you have a long climb all the way up to Handy's, and it's probably, I don't know, only a mile or so from the top of Handy's before you have, well, for me, what turned into like a mandatory, water crossing.
Right.
So I had, 4 or 5 miles of dry feet.
Yeah.
And
Helped a lot.
that's why my feet are in great
Good.
condition now, is because I took care of them most of the race.
And that could be such a bad experience. So that because you said 2 blisters, basically.
Yeah,
2
superficial
blisters,
blister on a toe, and
couple
then
black nails.
one on a callus.
Right.
Yeah.
So early on, you mentioned that you did not carry the lipstick with you throughout the race.
Right.
But in your pack, you had your standard nutrition, whatever you're going off of. But you also had something that I would say a majority of people don't carry with them in their
I usually don't.
I don't think I've ever carried one in my vest, especially during a race. But you carried something pretty much throughout the race, right?
Well, I didn't think we were going to talk about my personal. Oh, no, wait. Oh, you're talking. Oh, right. No, you're talking about.
He's like, what? Wait. Oh, okay.
That would be the first time anybody's ever carried the phallus on the Hardrock course.
Yeah. I did. I have a ring, a diamond ring.
Did you
in
carry
my
that
pack.
for the start?
I literally had it in my pack the whole
Okay,
time.
good.
Yeah.
Good for you. Because if
Yeah.
you hadn't, I would have given you more grief.
Then I would have. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. What if it was in a drop bag? No, that would
That
be
would
bad.
have been
idea.
bad.
Really bad
Bad
idea.
Bad
idea.
idea. Yeah.
Which is exactly why I had it in my pack. And the key.
But
the key
that gave
clip,
you more chances to lose it.
It did. Yeah.
Catch
It's-
22 at that point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Which is
it's-
a good book, by the way.
It's why I love that book.
Yeah.
Which is why I got this nervous habit of reaching up to my side
Katie
to fill
Grossman's
that
like,
pocket.
what is he doing
Yeah.
again? Why is he
Does he
touching
got a
that?
side ache? Does he got like a?
Has he got a
does he got?
tick? What's going on there?
Yeah. So I clipped an engagement ring in my pack and carried it until mile 92.
So
Right.
that's where it all
like
went down.
that's like the last big high point, right?
Yeah,
Before
so-
you did that bomber downhill.
Yep. So you have kind of you can have a pacer change at KT, which is mile 89.
Right.
But your pacer has to hike 2 miles up the road. So they actually get like a 13-mile
Jaunt.
jaunt
Yeah.
to the finish.
Right.
So my partner, Jen, I worked it so she'd be my pacer for the last section.
Right.
And my goal was to ask her to marry me
Right.
at the top of the last climb, which is looking down into Putnam Basin.
Right.
So it's not necessarily the top of a mountain, although it's the top of a peak.
Right.
And so I carried that ring the whole way,
That's cool.
and had been planning it for a while.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. How, if you can,
How did you hide the ring from her all that time?
So
putting it in his running shoe?
yeah.
She'll never look in a running shoe. These things are reeky.
Well, you were talking about the water bottle, the shorts water bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh.
I was keeping it in my shorts.
Hmm.
No, I'm just kidding.
I was going to say, no, you weren't. No, we'd be talking about other injuries
Yeah,
at this
we would.
I
point.
know, right?
Yeah.
What's that warning? If it's like more than 4 hours, you gotta go see the doctor, right? I think you exceeded that.
Yeah. So as soon as I got in, I had thought about this. We've been together, we've been partners for 8 years now,
Right.
and we own a house. We've finally gotten jobs in the same place,
Right.
and so it was time. But neither one of us wanted to rush it, and neither one of us felt the need to hurry. And I've been so anti-marriage
Right.
after having failed relationships in the past that I wasn't in any rush, so no one expected it,
Yeah.
and
Oh boy.
least of all Jen. She didn't expect it either.
Right.
So you've been waiting for this. You've been waiting to get into Hardrock for 8 years.
Yeah. Right.
Just for
right.
this.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, well, not going to happen this year. Not
Yes.
going to happen
All
this
right.
year.
I guess we're never getting married. So I carry it, and the goal was to, on that last high point, the last pinnacle, the high point for her section,
Right.
to say, oh well, we really need some pictures. So we get there, and I'm like, let me take my pack off and get my phone out, and I'll prop my phone, and we can do a selfie,
Right.
because there was no one around, because I'd said, oh, hopefully somebody's around.
Nobody's there.
Come on,
Nobody's
people.
there.
Where are you?
Yeah.
I know. So, get the camera out, and I'm like, oh, I can't really prop it, so I'm just holding it, and I've already turned it on. It's recording. I'm like, my legs. Can you give me a hand up? So she gives me her hand.
Really?
She gives me her hand. I get up onto one knee, like, oh,
I'm trying.
and
I'm cramping.
and then call her by her full name.
Oh, no. She
And
knows something wrong at that
She
point.
immediately, it was the most amazing face.
Yeah.
Because it's the total shock, the total, this is happening. And of course, her way of saying this is happening was to say, shut up. and I proceeded to, propose and basically say, all these crazy things that we do, this
Right.
race, it may be me out here, and I just had Super Troopers meow the whole
Meow. That's
this
such
is
a
my
good movie.
ADHD
Oh my gosh.
distractible.
That's okay.
All right, now.
It's powerful
okay.
in the bus. The ADHD is powerful in the
it
bus.
is.
Anyway, I wouldn't be able to do this race without you, and you are a central part, and I want you to know that this moment is our moment. It's not my moment.
Right.
Finishing this race is our finish, and you being a part of it is central to life for me, and
Right.
the only way the best way to do that is, to ask you to marry me. So it was great.
That's awesome.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And perfect. And then we get done.
Wait, back up.
Just
Yeah.
like I'm gonna DNF
That's it.
now.
She said yes, obviously.
Gosh, I keep burying the lead. I
Yeah.
forget that. Yes, she said yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That's important to
yeah,
know.
that is
Because
important.
I've read the Denver Post article. I saw
Yeah.
the video of the
Yeah.
the award ceremony.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm
Yeah.
like I'm into this now.
Yeah.
Right.
So some runners come up right after that, and we get a selfie with them. And so I'm
Right.
like, oh, yeah, well, we just got engaged. Thinking nothing of it. Move on. You start down the hill to, another mile or two to the Putnam aid station, which is the last aid station on the course. And we're just happy. We're in our own kind of world.
Mm-hmm.
And then we come in, and they're like, congratulations. And I'm like, thanks, I'm going to finish. And they're like, no.
Oh, you knucklehead.
You idiot. Congratulations on getting engaged. And I'm like, whoa.
That traveled
Wildfire.
fast. Yeah.
It really did. And so, we regaled them with some stories. They wanted to hear about it. It was great.
They're
It's
chucking gels in the air instead of rice.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. It was a Durango cross-country team or track team.
Right. Little high school team.
Yeah, high school team.
Yeah.
Just great. Lots of energy. Clearly one of my favorite aid stations. Not just because it was close to the end of the race, and not just because they were so nice to us. Well, no, actually, yeah, for both of those
For both of those reasons.
Yeah.
I'll take that back.
And then again, a couple miles later, you're crossing the river. It's just turned dark.
Mm-hmm.
And again, same thing. Cross the river. Congratulations!
That's
I'm like,
awesome.
thanks. They're like, no, about the wedding, about the marriage. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it.
So where are you guys going to get married?
Yeah, we don't know.
Top of
Silverton?
handies.
I don't know.
You got to go back to Silverton or get married.
I did mention
Right?
that. I did say, well, maybe I need to put in so that
I think that's like the cosmic order of things now for you guys, right?
it makes sense. And if you want to be at the wedding, you got to hike in somewhere, and we do it during the race. Yeah.
Wow.
That'd be
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
That might be a way to guarantee to get in next year.
yeah right. Say
Oh,
That way-
right, yeah,
that way
right.
you can be the true hard rocker both
Yeah.
directions,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure that's been done. Just like the kiss and the
I have no
lipstick.
idea.
So you can
Yeah, I
be
don't
there can
know.
be heart rules all through this book by
I
the time
know,
you're done
right?
with Hard Rock.
Yeah, the heart chapter.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I want that kind of
notoriety.
I can't take it. That's a little bit too much pressure for me. Yeah.
But I mean, I mean, like you said, I mean, it's like you're mixing kind of, right? Because like you said, we've talked about it a million times. We'll talk about it a million times, and the running stuff we do is pretty selfish. You have someone that supports it and is a huge part of it. So you've got this pinnacle race, right, with the pinnacle life experience, happening on there. I mean, that just adds to the whole 2 weeks, really. I mean, the story
it
after
completes
story.
the story,
Yeah,
right?
it really does.
Those are like little chapters in the book.
It really does. Yeah, it's the whole thing, and I can't parse it out into, oh, this was good, this was bad. It's everything, and it was everything I wanted, and 100% more than I expected. The whole thing from start to finish. It was never a gimme. It was never like, oh, this is in the bag. I can do this. I'm not worried about this. I'm confident. It was all the self-doubt and overcoming the self-doubt, which is part of why, at least for me, why I do these types of things. I do them because I'm not sure I can.
Right.
And I have something to prove to myself, apparently. So, and I guess that would extend to getting married again.
So was that difficult though?
Not sure I
like
can.
The 2 weeks, knowing was that hard? Because I know I have a hard time keeping just little surprises. Like, hey, look, I bought you a shirt. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait. Yeah, I can't wait for a birthday or a holiday here.
No,
so was that hard?
No, I didn't have any problem with it.
I would suck at that.
It was no, yeah, I didn't. No problem. It was the anticipation. So the weather, the proposal, and the self-doubts, leading into it, made me probably not the greatest person to hang out with.
Right.
But I didn't have problems with like holding it, keeping it a secret.
Right.
I didn't drop hints or anything like that.
I think it makes it more powerful, more meaningful, because you did make it to that point, right? Because you went through that struggle. You got to mile 93, and you have this person that you love there with you, and that makes that moment that much better.
It was so poignant and so special.
It's almost like the finish line in a way too, because you know where you wanted to get to do that, and it was like, that's my finish line. Now I just need to do this. Which
now I just need to roll down this hill for the next 7 miles, basically.
All I had to do at that point was continue to stagger down the hill and bang my toes on so many rocks in those last 6 miles. Oh my gosh. Yeah, because I still couldn't see perfectly, and my the low end of my vision sometimes would come and go, and then as it got a little bit darker, I put a headlamp. I had a headlamp on my waist,
right,
to kind of bring out the contour. But I banged so many rocks. But yeah, it really having all of that self-doubt or all of the issues getting to that point made it that much better.
So now that you've had that experience, okay, the Hardrock finished it. Basically, you got engaged on the Hardrock course. You're the first person to put lipstick on Kiss the Rock. How can you top that? I mean, do you think that going into the next race, you might have a little bit of ho-hum experience?
Gosh, I haven't thought about.
Are you going to retire?
Thanks, man.
I mean, are you just going to straight up retire now?
Do you know, I went to a slideshow this spring at Seven Hills Running in Seattle.
Right.
And it was with Joe Grant,
yep,
who had a fantastic race this year.
Yeah, he did.
And
he ruined my contest.
Yeah.
Oh, did he?
Thanks, Joe. But congratulations.
Yeah, and Joe, I enjoyed your slideshow, and I'm sorry I didn't get to catch up with you. I guess we both had our minds on other things last weekend. But the slideshow was about this adventure that he made for himself, and he went out and he rode from his house and rode his bike and did all the 14ers in Colorado, hiking up them and biking to each one. And he's like, just find your own adventure.
Right.
It doesn't have to be a race.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was like, wow, that's cool. My dad lives in Winthrop, Washington, and I'm in Bellingham. And, as the crow flies, it's only about 200 miles apart.
Right.
But you've got Mount Baker in the way, and you've got Lake Diablo and all of these
other obstacles. And so I have this harebrained idea to self-power from my house to his house.
Oh,
So it would be some road biking,
right.
and then it would be some mountain biking.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can get a couple friends, it'll be mountain climbing. So we'll climb the technical
Wow.
route up and down Mount Baker,
Yeah, that's legit.
and it'd have some kayaking.
Wow.
And it'll have running and
Some
fast packing.
alpacas, some goats.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it will end coming into Mazama, which is only a couple miles up from Winthrop, and then I'll inner tube. I'll just ride an
Oh,
inner tube down the river
that's
just
Just
to
relax.
finish.
You need to.
Because he lives right off the river, so
There you go.
I can just pick up the inner tube and walk over to the
Man.
house.
That's like your finish line, getting to the inner tube.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Because you're going to have a cooler beer.
There's right.
An
There's
inner
gonna
tube
be
of beer
yeah.
and an inner tube with
there's
you.
gonna be
Yeah.
a cooler floating in the river with me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So
I like it. That's a good idea.
I'm certain I'll keep racing. I want to kind of maybe do shorter races that I don't have to
All right.
put my whole life into.
Yeah.
But the idea of doing these some adventure type things.
Right. Or you're doing hard rock again, just so you can be the true hard rocker, right?
Do you have that?
Well-
Is that a possibility?
Well,
I mean, you're not going to say it right now, obviously.
I will be in.
But
No,
your body
we're
language,
putting him
body
on the
language
spot.
says yes.
I will be in big trouble if I say that I'm planning to do another 100, because I have sworn up and down all spring that
This
I will
is
never
it.
do it again.
Well, we
I usually
know
do
that the short-term memory is terrible in ultra runners.
Yeah.
I might admit to having dropped subtle hints that, well, my hard rock finish qualifies me for 3 years in the lottery,
There you go.
There you go.
and I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I haven't decided.
All right. We
Undecided.
know what that means.
There's also a part of me.
Decidedly undecided.
I have, all those people were there and rooting, and like I said, Feggy was there, and he was so supportive, and that just meant so much to me. And he is, he's one of the very few people who have finished Barkley.
Yeah.
He does all of these amazing things. He's he's hiked the AT and the PCT, and he just got into Western and finished Western this year. So he has all these aspirations, and to me, I see him, and he hasn't gotten in, and he's going out and volunteering, and he's he had more tickets in the lottery than I did this year.
Right.
And then I start thinking about all the people, that are trying to get in. And I think, is it fair? And would I have more fun if I just went out and did that? What if I went out and just did the course marking and the Camp Hardrock stuff,
Right.
and paced somebody in the race and just supported and was there?
Right.
I might have just as good an experience without all of the pressure.
Yeah.
There you go.
Stop nodding, Jen.
Jen's over there nodding. Yes. Yes.
She got big head nods.
Yeah. So I'm not sure,
Okay.
because the idea of doing it again is in my head, of course.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I think there's a way to experience it without.
Because you've done it now, and that, like
Yeah.
you said, right at the beginning, that was your pinnacle. You've
Right.
done it, and then there's always that. What I go through in my head, there's always that. If I go back and have
Can I do it faster?
a bad experience, quote,
Right.
quote, which
Yeah.
is just tough to say, is it going to tarnish my first experience or
Right.
leave that taste in my mouth?
Right.
I mean, that's something I think about when I've done
Yeah.
races before. So there's a lot
Yeah.
to think about, and you don't have to decide today. Obviously,
No.
there's
No,
we just we
yeah,
wanted
no,
you
I'm
on
not
the
gonna-
record, though.
you got a
That
solid
was
week to
important.
figure all this
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, solid week.
Amazing.
Start training again for next year.
Amazing.
Just
Yeah.
like I got my long 15 miler in.
That's
I'm ready.
right.
Here comes June.
That's all it takes. How to train for hard rock on 15 miles.
That's
yeah,
right.
that's a book.
That is a total book.
And let's put an asterisk next to that, because you said the best thing. You need to know your own body, right? Because you had the solid base way before this.
that's
too.
so true.
I mean, it's not like you're out there. People have aspirations going, dude, I can run 15 miles. I
Yeah.
can get into hard rock.
I know.
You know?
Yeah, and it really does. And I said this in the last podcast. It really is misleading, because I was doing a lot of other things, and I was on my feet and doing a lot of carrying a pack and walking everywhere. So I may not have been running a lot, but
my walking muscles never gave out.
Right.
I even toward the end, I could have kept walking 15-minute miles, 14-minute miles.
Wow, that's amazing.
Well, and let's be honest, Hardrock
And there's
is
that.
not running.
That's the normal pace
right?
of hard
Lot.
right? That's
Yeah.
that's fast.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
oh, yeah.
Hardrock's not
Yeah.
running for 99.9% of the people.
No.
Right?
My
not
up.
unless, not unless you're killing.
That's the Killian factor,
right.
right? But yeah, that's what it is the power hiking. Because I've gone into races before, ready to run, and had to walk, and my walking sucked because
Yeah.
I've never walked before.
Right.
Yeah.
People are just flying by me walking. I'm like, what in the world? I can walk, but I just
Yeah.
hadn't done it before.
Yeah.
You know, my after all that stuff, my down was debilitated. I couldn't run down. I could only shuffle down. And that's where I was getting passed on the ups. No, I wasn't ever getting passed. I was passing people on
Right.
the ups, and I was just power hiking. So up and flat is what got me through at that pace, because it wasn't. Yeah, there was very little running the last 50 miles of the race.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I can't. I'm excited for you. I mean, I was just watching the whole time, man. I'm like, because we had a lot of people we know in the race, and
Yeah.
excited, but it was always like, hey, where's Jeff? Where's Jeff?
And that
I mean,
new tracker made it awesome.
That new tracker's insane.
Yeah.
It sounds like it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It
I
was
mean,
cool.
obviously you
I
weren't
can go
involved
find your
with it.
name, and then it would just pop up on the map where you were.
Yeah, it would show people in order.
Yeah.
Whatever happened there, like if it's Hardrock's thing or if a company came out with it, I would love to see 100-milers all jump on this.
Yeah, but
That'd be the
you got to
coolest
carry a
thing.
spot then. I think that's the only down.
Yeah, that is the but I mean, was that cumbersome at all? Did you
No.
even know it was
I mean,
there?
it's I don't even know what that would be the size of, an inch and a half by an inch and a half. It's small.
It's like a cigarette pack.
It's small. It's like half of a cigarette pack. It's like a cigarette pack cut in half.
Yeah.
Candy
bar.
And you wear it on your you wear it on the strap of your backpack, and I just forgot it's there.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't even. I mean, I carried way more than I needed to.
Of course, you had a ring and
Yeah.
keychain, and
I know.
yeah.
I thought about dumping some of it.
It's like I'm gonna leave the ring at this one, and
Yeah.
it's like no gels. I got the ring.
That's right.
Carried my headphones for half the race before I'm like, I'm just not listening to music. I didn't listen to anything, so I'm
Wow.
like, start ditching weight halfway through. But you hear all the stories and panic, and I was like, I better carry a mid layer.
Yeah, everything.
The raincoat was carry a rain
Like a legit raincoat.
Yeah,
Not a
seam
garbage
sealed-
sack like people like to do.
A Houdini I would have been hurting in a Houdini.
Exactly. Like that.
It
Houdini's
needs
fine for like this.
Yeah.
Mild stuff.
Yeah.
It was a seam sealed,
Like
fully
three-layer-
waterproof.
Yeah, 3-layer Gore-Tex.
Yeah.
He had a seal suit.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it was my triathlon swim, my
my dry layer of
wetsuit.
my dry suit. Yeah.
And I kept my buoy on it just in case.
My buoy.
Yeah.
Who's that
Well,
guy?
I didn't have a buoy, but my water wings were still blown up.
Chafing was miserable.
And train with your wet feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the two things. Yeah. That
That's
you
awesome.
definitely
Right
need to
on.
do if you do it. But yeah, people. If you don't have Hardrock on your radar, you're crazy.
What would you? So
And-
give some advice then. Someone that wants to get into Hardrock.
Besides training with wet feet.
Yeah, I mean,
and
give
carrying that.
first timers.
rain
There's a
jacket.
lot. Probably. I mean, there's a lot of first people that want to get in, myself included. I mean, what kind of things would you say to them? Because it is super. It's exciting to think about, especially after the race is over for people that were watching. Oh, I want to get into that. But it's
Yeah.
also a huge undertaking. What's just a couple bullet points of advice you would have for those people, being this was your first year?
Yeah. So don't be in a rush. Go out early or go out before. Go out and volunteer, and spend the time. Go out and just find the steepest hill and just keep doing it. If you live in a place that doesn't have tall mountains, I mean, even here, 2,000-3,000 feet of gain, that's great, but that's only half of some of these big climbs.
Yeah.
So go and do it, and then when you think you've done enough, do it one more time.
Right.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing. It's just, and build the base, and like I said, I've like all the people that are getting into this race or want to get in, it's not a short-term goal, it's a long-term goal, and so just be ready to keep putting in the miles and keep putting in the races, and all those races and all those things that you do that lead up to it, all that adventure out there is going to build to the point where you're you're ready and you can go out and just experience it.
Right.
Because, I smile. You just smile everywhere. You just come over a rise and you smile again, and because it's just spectacular. There's no mountains, and I've never seen mountains that are like this.
That's the thing is, like, Killian talks about why he keeps coming back. Part of it is that reason, right?
Yeah.
It's just, and he's been everywhere,
Right.
and he's like, it's incredible here. And then just seeing more and more people getting the experience to be in the San Juans, whether they're racing, pacing, Camp Hardrock, and it's the same kind of comments they get. This is the most beautiful place I've ever been.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing.
And then the other one is, dial your nutrition. Just figure out your nutrition. And be ready to eat good food.
What was your
We
your
talked
thing?
about it, and Tailwind has been my go-to, and
That was on course too. Was that?
it
a
was
spot?
on course.
Okay.
They had it mixed a little bit more diluted than I like. I actually can take it fairly rich, just because that way I get it all in really fast, and then I can just have water and like full bottle with a lot, and then another bottle of just water.
Right.
So I did mostly Tailwind, but because the intensity is a little bit lower because you don't want to blow up. I did real food along with it. I do Coke and chips almost every aid station. Those are just kind of go-tos for me. But they had amazing stuff. I probably ate 6 avocados total. They had at one aid station, they had wraps with tomato and avocado. It was gold. It was so good. So good. I've never had avocado in a race, and I'll do it every time after this. It was so good. And they had Pringles, like one of them, the Pole Creek, had a Pringle with an avocado on it.
Wow.
Ooh,
And it was
fat
so
and salty. That
Wow.
does sound
It was
tasty.
perfect.
Wow.
So little things like that. But
Kind of whatever looked good when you got there, but kind
Yep.
of I know how that's kind of
avocado
probably
wraps.
play out.
If they had avocado, I ate it at every aid at
Right.
the aid stations that had it.
Nice.
So
That's good to know.
yeah.
Well, and then back to what we said. There was 126 finishers out of 145 starts.
That's really good. That's a good.
That's
finish rate.
insane for that race.
That's awesome.
And I think
I would
they had 54 first timers, and I think 53 of those first timers finished.
That's
Whoa.
incredible.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
That is
Yeah, it is.
crazy.
Unfortunately, for the everyone else lottery, that means there's now 53 more people.
Yeah.
That's true.
Which is part of the reason why
It's
it's
hard to
probably
get
better
in.
to do a soft rock and
Well,
just volunteer.
even the veteran list is getting harder to
Yeah,
get
it
into.
is.
Where
Yeah.
before it was like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But now it's like, oh.
You would think that, as the old timers get old timier, that there would be less and less. But actually, if you've been doing this for a while, there are enough that are hitting that 4 to 5, hitting that 5 times that, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, man, this has been awesome for us. I mean, I've thoroughly enjoyed. I was excited when the thing went up. The lottery went down. You're like, hey, I'm in. First time I heard the podcast. I'm like, let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
And we've just kind of tracked this journey from. I remember the first show we did with you. It was at, I'm injured. I got this going on. I'm carrying rocks in my backpack to work.
Yeah.
Type thing.
Yeah.
And at that point, you're like, okay, well, you only got a few months. And I
Yeah.
like to keep bringing that up in the show. I'm like, so you got 7 weeks. And you're like, thanks for that.
Yeah.
But as
Yeah.
we kept going, and then I think the second show, there was a little more mental side to it, where it was kind of like creeping up on you, like,
Yep.
man, I don't know. You're still gung-ho, but in the back, you get to hear your mental side. And then the third show was all in, this is
Yep.
what I'm doing. And it was fun to talk to you when you were down there. So this whole journey's been fun. And for us, it's been great because, like I mentioned before, we've had so many listeners jump on this crazy train, of let's follow Jeff.
Right.
Because we were getting all, like I said, it's amazing to me just how cool this community is of people that want to see people succeed.
Right.
Right? Because people are so excited for you and where's he at and taking photos and meeting you. And, I was just having lunch with some family the other day, and they were talking about, oh, yeah, that was the one where that other guy came on the side of the road. And,
Oh, that's funny.
it's like people find these little nuances to your story and your journey, and to finish this off with a finish and engagement.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the pinnacle, you
Right.
know, is
Yeah.
in the bus. I mean, this is awesome.
Well, and that's what I would add is, we talked about all those things that make it this whole package, but doing this with you guys, that's part of it.
Right.
For me, that's part of it.
It's a little more
thank
pressure.
you so much. It was. It genuinely was. There may have been a point that same day I was checking on the reservations where I said, if it wasn't for that damn podcast, I probably would have quit a month ago.
That would have been like a
That's
10-minute
awesome.
show.
Yeah.
It's like, so how you feeling? Well, I just canceled my reservation.
right.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
well, it's been nice talking to Jeff.
That's
All
right.
right. Thanks.
Just unfriended him on Facebook.
Yeah.
Glad your life goals are going well. Peace.
Yeah. Who's next? No, but hey, it's been great because it is a race I've always wanted to do, and it's always been on my list. So it's been kind of fun to follow along and kind of put myself in your shoes, if you will, and think, oh, okay, but it's super inspiring, and it makes people say, I can do this, because you no offense, but you're not Killian. You're not. You don't have. You had these hurdles we all face.
Well, I saw him.
Yeah.
I mean, I lined
Did
up
you give
2
him-
rows behind him.
Right.
And
And
so,
that was the last that you saw.
I mean, that's close, right?
you didn't
Right.
pat him on the back after, right?
I
Smack
didn't,
his
yeah.
shoulder or something like that. Nice job, buddy. Bam.
I didn't.
Um,
No, I think he was on a plane by the time I
Yeah.
finished.
yeah.
So he's on to his next adventure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
because we get it a lot. It's like, and it's really hard. I have a hard time, and I always will. It's like elite to your everyday runner, but it's so easy to relate to you and your story, because we all have life. You are moving, taking on a new job, jumping in, and you're dealing with injuries. Everybody goes through that, and everybody doubts it. But I mean, just listening as we go through your stories, it's been a blast, to put that real aspect to the process.
Well, and that's why I was glad to do it, because I do feel I'm like middle of the packer. If I choose the right race, I might do good. I might be, near the top. And if I have a really spectacular day, I might do great. But most of the time, and particularly in 100 milers, I'm average. I feel like I'm just average. I mean, my results here at this race, I was average. I was in the middle.
Right.
Isn't that crazy? In the middle at 40 hours, though.
I know.
I mean, that's...
Well, I think the average. Oh shoot, I had looked it up, or maybe they say it in their packet. I think the average finishing time is around 40 hours.
That's crazy.
Right.
So,
I think this year there were like 10 to 12 people that finished between hour 47 and 48.
Right.
yeah.
There's that many people in that hour deadline block.
I have one regret for the whole thing, and that's it. It's that golden hour. I was so tired.
Oh, yeah.
And we had nowhere to stay there, so I went and slept.
In the gutter
and
or
missed-
something.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And I missed that. I missed that last hour.
Right.
I would have really liked to have seen that, but I had to sleep.
Yeah.
Cooked. Yeah.
You had to be ready for the award event, right? You had to look good for
Well,
that.
well, that's the other thing. So I know we're almost wrapped up, but I had no idea that Dale knew, because he didn't say anything. Nobody said anything at the finish line about it. And then in the awards ceremony, which, oh, thank you so much, because I wanted to make sure and say this on the podcast. Dale in his awards ceremony picks out every single runner
Right.
and says something specific about them
Wow.
and calls them up. And that's amazing, prides himself on being there for everybody.
Right.
And that's part of what makes it feel like a family and such a close, tight-knit group.
Mm-hmm.
So I never expected him to, call me up and then hand me the mic
Yeah, I saw
and say, "Tell us the story."
What was great about it is you were just like natural, because I was watching it and he's like, here, and you like grab the mic and you're like talking, and I was waiting for you to just drop it and walk away.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, he's a natural.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm a professor, so I talk in front of crowds. It doesn't bother me a bit.
Right.
So 500 people in the auditorium.
That's a normal class
was,
size.
yeah,
for
that
you,
was
huh?
fine. Yeah, it was hard to stop. I had to consciously go, these people don't care about your story.
Exactly.
They just want to get out of here
Because
this is cool.
your exuberance and excitement. I mean, it'd be easy to keep going though. I mean,
Yeah,
it's,
well,
you're
and
just
it's-
on a high,
Right. Yeah.
and everybody probably was there, even the veterans.
Yeah, and for all that we've talked about here, everything we talk about, there's one more thing I could be telling about my race, and and you think about races like this, and everybody has that much. Every 100-miler has that much to share.
They've got that
You
story.
just have so much.
That's, you know what, and to say that's why me and Joel do this, is because of that reason. We've learned so many stories, met some amazing people, but a lot of the people we talk to, you would not, when they tell us their story, we kind of look at each other like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You know? But that's how it is. And in a race like that, I could only imagine even more just what has to go into it, and the time to get into it, the time to train, the everything that goes into it. The stories have got to be incredible.
Yeah.
So it could last forever.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's it.
That's a good way to end.
We've kind of talked it through, but again, congratulations on the engagement.
Yes.
To both of you, and then the race, of course. We'll say congratulations there.
Yeah. Thanks.
But and also, we really do appreciate you taking the time, and I know it's kind of nerve-wracking and made you nervous or pressure, but that whole process has been great, and for us it's been. Yeah. And for us, it's been great just to see the people that have followed you.
Right.
That's been a lot of fun. I remember texting Joel when Matt or you posted the photo of you two together in Hardrock.
Yeah. I'm
like, how cool is this? And then just right after that, in Arkansas, same day, no kidding. Richard Allen, same red shirt. Richard Allen with Josh Hinojosa took a picture in Arkansas. Had
That's
to check
awesome.
it out that they hadn't met, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. That people.
It's a good tribe.
It is. It's a great group of people, and
Yeah.
to be part of it. Now you're ingrained in that Hardrock fabric. Now you talk about the family, everything else. I mean, your name is in there, ingrained. You've been a part of it. So I mean, that's part of your legacy too of your life.
Yeah.
Being a part of that.
And I couldn't be prouder to be a part of that family and this family too, the TrailManners family.
Yeah.
Right.
Sweet.
It makes me so happy.
Right on. Well, we appreciate
We
that.
appreciate that.
Well, you have a safe trip back home. Kind of now you got other things to focus on.
Yeah,
You
you
know,
do.
the engagement, and
cheeseburgers, and
maybe
Sleep.
sleep. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
just wherever your next journey takes you. But we've appreciated it. We've enjoyed kind of being along the ride with you. And like I said, just following you along was just so much more. I don't know, felt so much more a part of it, I guess. So thanks for taking us along with
Yeah,
you. Let us live through you on that. So have a safe trip. Thanks again, and congratulations.
All right, thanks.
Thank you for listening to the TrailManners podcast. We sure would like to thank Jeff Hart for taking the time to join us, not just today, but the entire journey up to the Hardrock 100, and congratulate him both on finishing the race and to himself and Jen on their engagement. You can check more out in our show notes, or we also want to encourage everybody to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at TrailManners, or swing by our website at trailmanners.com. There you can check out the store page. We've got a couple hoodies left, as well as some other cool swag and rights. Or you can hit us up on the contact page. Let us know what you want to see, who you want to hear, or if you would like to be on the show. Until next time, this is Eric Manning with Joel Hatch reminding you, you don't get what you wish for, you get what you work for. Now go get it.